So hi guys, welcome to Ustream. If you want to call me, then you have to call me through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12, and you can just send me a request now. That's Lisa Cairns 12. If you want to come to one of my events, next week I'm doing a retreat in Crete. Which is the 4th of June to the 11th. And then the 25th to the 26th of June is a retreat, a weekend talks near London, just outside London. And then July 15th to 17th, there's talks in Berlin, Germany. And then the 30th of July to the 6th of August, a retreat in Romania. And then the 18th of October to the 1st of November, a retreat in southern Spain. So I'm just going to do an introduction. There's people calling already, and then I will take some calls. I'm going to start doing Ustream differently. Although I'm away now for 2 weeks, or like 4 sessions, as I will be on retreat, I'm going to start doing it differently. And I'm only going to record the ones on Wednesday. So the ones that go up on YouTube will be the Wednesday ones. And then on the Sunday, they won't be recorded, so people can be more open and honest. A lot of people hold back what they're feeling or thinking because they think it's recorded. It'll be on YouTube, they'll have trollers writing to them. So on Wednesday it will be recorded, and on Sundays it won't be recorded. So there'll only be one recording a week now. All there is aliveness, this radical awakeness. And this awakeness, this aliveness, is looking through these bodies. Using these bodies in order to experience itself. So this awakeness creates everything. It creates the room, the light, the sounds, the sound of my voice, this body, your body. It creates it all. And then it looks through these bodies as if it's having an individual experience at the world. It looks through. It looks through the senses at itself. And this is how life experiences itself. Really, it's all itself looking at itself, but it divides up in order to have an experience. It creates a tree, a room, a body, and then looks through these bodies and has the human experience. And in the human experience, there is something called me. This awakeness is free and boundless. It doesn't feel identified with anything in particular, it just is. It's still and in movement. It doesn't move and yet it moves. It sees everything, it knows everything, and yet at the same time it's unknowing and doesn't move. It doesn't know anything. Crazy, eh? Even though all thoughts appear and it knows them, it inherently knows nothing. It's totally innocent. This alive awakeness. It's so still and so full simultaneously. It's so empty and yet contains and is everything. And then when it looks through the human body and has the human experience, this human body has me. in it, and it gives the appearance that somebody is alive and somebody's having a separate experience. So somebody's inside these bodies experiencing a separate world, and this somebody has claimed all these different things in order to feel like a somebody. It claims the feelings, the sensations, the emotions, the name, the body. It claims the past, the ideas from the past, what it's learned, its society, its position in society, the future, what it owns. All of that it holds into itself and says, this is me. This is me. I am somebody in here. I'm alive. And when the body dies, I die. I'm alive. Not everything is alive. I'm alive. I am me. And I'm separate. And the person suffers from this. Oof. Good music. Cup smell, lid smell. And this claiming starts at an early age. It starts at maybe 1 or 2 years old, where the body starts claiming, taking in memories, taking in ideas, taking in dynamics, taking in patterns and behaviors. Me, me, me. And it begins to feel uncomfortable. This sense of me, of separateness, always has a sense of discomfort. It has a sense of excitement and wonder, but it also has this sense that it needs things. I need things in order to complete me. Before, when there was just awakeness looking through the body, pure beingness, pure aliveness, this knowing that was totally free and yet knew everything but contained nothing, it never sought, it never seeked for anything. It never needed anything to be complete. It was complete. It didn't even have the concept of being complete or incomplete. It was just totally and utterly whole, without a question. But then when this me started, everything began to feel out of place slightly. And so this me energy starts to look for things in the flow of life in order to complete itself. I need things to complete myself. I need things to make me happy. And I got more and more dependent on this game of getting what I can get from the world. Everything became about this. A whole personality's based on getting. It doesn't know the difference between getting and love. Most people think that wanting someone, feeling the other completes them, is love. And in a way, in that moment of coming together, the whole seeking falls away and all there is love. But that wanting of them is nothing to do with love. The wanting to keep someone, the wanting to attain someone, the wanting for them to be with you isn't love. It's this need, this separation and this need to fill it. And you feel like this drug fills it in some way. You feel better with them around. And therefore you hold onto them, you grab onto them. You try and strangle the life out of them to keep them. You kill it. You kill the whole relationship. Not just relationship, but in everything. In writing, in non-duality, in it all. The seeker holds on to this idea of enlightenment, and it's all about get, 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 get. What can I take in for me? Me, me, me. And there's nothing wrong with that game. Of course that game's going to happen. If you feel uncomfortable, of course you're going to seek. And I'm happy now to talk about ways in which you can relax that seeking and you as a person can feel more balanced. But ultimately, there is no person there. Who you truly are is this awakeness, is this knowing of everything, which is totally empty and full at the same time. It knows it all. Actually, you could say the true source is even more mysterious than knowing, but knowing's pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. You like my American accent there? Woof! 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 She can't see me, but she's barking to come in. I just like to bark back at her when she woofs at me. Woof. Woof. All there is this beautiful awakeness, this aliveness, this sense of being. And this being is knowing itself, it's experiencing itself, but at the same time it doesn't know a thing. It doesn't know anything, it simply is. It's so innocent. So it creates these brains that know something. It creates these brains that understand, that think, that remember. But it inherently remembers nothing. It creates all of this to have this 3D multi-interactive experience of itself. It even creates this sense of a person that feels like a me. But that is not who you are. You are not a person in moving time. That is being experienced. All suffering comes from believing, that energy that believes it's somebody moving in time. My mum and dad are so deaf. I'm just at my parents' house. Khaleesi's barking to get in. They can't hear. They've got their TV up so loud. You can't understand. Excuse me. I have to let the dog in. Go on. Oh, Khaleesi, come on. Don't be a banana. You come in. Who's a banana? Who's a banana? Banana. Banana. Yeah, nana, mana. She's a banana nana. Okay, you want out there. Go and bug the parents. Go, Khaleesi. Go. Now this is going to be the one Ustream my mum watches, just to hear me calling her deaf. Hey Phyllis! So you think that you're a thought that's choosing. You think that you're a story that you repeat to yourself. You think that you're a feeling or a sensation, but all of that is being experienced just like the light, just like the room is being experienced. None of that is who you are. Who you are is that beingness which Who you are is that aliveness, that beingness which knows it all. Something knows those feelings, something knows those thoughts, something knows those sensations. That's all known. So obviously that can't be who you are. My mum's just come out to get the dog. It's so pure and brilliant. There is nothing in this world which is more you. The thoughts, the sensations, the ideas. While that belief is, that energy is there contracting it all as if that's you, then suffering begins. Then you start believing you're someone in time and the other is someone in time, and that you're in relationship, and you're in relationship with this world. And you have to get things. You have to be a certain way. You have to understand what's happening. You have to understand the dynamics. You have to not argue. You have to be friendly. You have to be lovable. And all these things naturally happen. It's part of being a human. But when it's taken to be you, then it becomes really serious, and that love, that freedom is covered. It's so wonderful. We are not these speaking things. This isn't a you speaking. This isn't a you hearing. This isn't a you looking. This isn't a you feeling. That is all that's happening. That's how life knows itself, by all these things that are happening. But that life is so still, so empty, so vast, so boundless, never affected by a thing, never dies, never is hurt, never's injured. But yet in the dream, the human is. And that's got its sadness, and that's got its emotionality with it, and that's got all these dynamics with it. But that isn't you. You are never that person. That person is an experience that's always coming and going. It's so clear and it's so simple. And it really changes life radically when this awakens again. And there can be different forms of awakening. There can be the intellectual type. And there can be this massive energetic explosion where it stops being contained in here. And then all there is life experiencing itself. It's really bizarre. There's no boundary, but yet it's looking through this particular body. And it's so spacious and empty. Nothing's affected. But yet then there's still the human dynamics come along, and Lisa bumps her head and falls over and gets it wrong and gets it right and has arguments. But none of that is a person anymore. And it does change the dynamics of the person. It stops that person doing things in order to complete itself. It's no longer doing something to complete its sense of lack, its sense of fear. Although it might still want a safe house, it might still want a lover, but none of that is about giving it to me, making me feel better. It's a totally different way of relating. But if you're identified, you won't be able to see it, or you'll see as yourself everywhere. And if you think you do see it, so if you're projecting it onto me, that's still just the way you think it is. There could be maybe a sense of it. And we might find that just from these words there's a resonance, there's a knowing of what's being talked about. That you, as a small entity, are not the experiencer. There's something much greater and bigger here. It's so mundane and ordinary, but yet so spectacular and huge. Okay, we got some callers. Hello?
Hello, Lisa.
Hey!
Hey. Thank you very much for. I've been listening to your on YouTube, and I've been very much in resonance with what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
For the past couple of months. I live in Pondicherry.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And I used to go to Nonduality meetings in at Arrowville.
Oh, yeah, with Anamika.
Yeah, Anamika and DDA.
DDA, oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's very, very thankful for you for revealing these truth.
Oh, with pleasure. I find it the most beautiful subject there is.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I came to know about it. I think about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had a kind of very strong and very bad experience at that time, and then I didn't know what was happening, and things were, turning around inside me, and then I didn't. I felt I was not a person, not a person, coming in, going out, coming in, going out, and I didn't know what was happening, and it was a kind of sudden exposure.
Yeah. Energetically, was it quite strange?
Pardon?
Was it energetically very strange?
Yeah, a kind of. I didn't know what it was at that time.
Yeah.
And I had to look for some help, and I thought I was reading. I was reading Eckhart Tolle at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was a result of these, and I wanted to know whether there was a meeting with Eckhart Tolle somewhere in Pondicherry, and then I bumped into this non-duality meeting. And there I started getting to know more about it, and then I could relate my experience with the non-duality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you always talk about this empty and full, and empty and full.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just have to let my dog in. 1 second.
And this.
Khaleesi, you're being such a pain. Come on! Wake up, puppy! What is wrong? Was annoying the parents not enough? Okay, sorry. The dog just keeps barking wherever she is.
I don't take most of your time because there are so many people.
Oh, no, that's okay. You don't need to worry about anyone else. I do it twice a week, so you know.
Oh, yeah. And so when you say empty, does it mean that there is no center?
Well, yes, but right now, what is looking out of your eyes?
What do you mean? What? Just looking.
And is that empty or full?
It's I don't know.
Does it have any quality, the looking?
No.
But yet there's everything, it's full.
Yeah.
But it's so vastly empty. There's nothing there, there's nothing which is looking. There's not a point in which looking comes from. It's so vast. In fact, it's so intimate that you can't define the difference between the objects and the looking.
Yeah, there is no beginning and there is no end.
Yeah. But it's totally empty of
There's
anything.
no starting point.
Yeah.
And there is no end point.
Yeah. And
There is no border.
And it has no quality. It's totally empty of any quality, of any sensation, of any feeling, of any idea, of anything.
Yeah, it is as you say, it is just happening.
Yeah.
And is it an experience?
What, the looking?
Yeah.
Well, who would experience it if it was an experience?
Okay. And so, because there is no center, there is no reference point, so there is nothing is looking.
Yeah. So is the looking an experience? If there's nothing there to experience the looking, could it possibly be an experience?
Yeah, but the body is an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, but looking is beyond the body. The body's not looking. The body's being looked at.
Yeah, but the body, the eyes in the body.
Yeah, they're being looked at. No, but I'm not talking about eye looking. I'm not talking about looking from the eyes. Who is it that knows the eyes? Who is it that knows the body's looking? It's not the eyes that are looking. The eyes are a function of looking.
Okay.
But they're not the looker. Who's actually looking through the eyes?
There is no way to find.
Yeah. And it's nothing to do with the body. The body is being looked through. This aliveness, this radical being, awakeness, is looking through the senses. So you can't say looking's connected with the eyes. This awakeness is looking through all the senses to have an experience of being human. But what is it that looks through all the senses? What is it that knows all the senses? What is it that knows the feeling of your bum on the seat?
Oh yeah, something that knows it.
Yeah. And that has no quality, right? It's totally empty, that knowing.
That has no form, no shape, no position.
Yeah. And yet everything is experienced. Everything is. In fact, you can't even say it knows the experience. It's just simply nothing and everything, emptiness and fullness. Life experiencing itself.
Okay, so it's a kind of, when you say empty and full,
it's simultaneous.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Because this looking, how is this looking removed from anything? How is this knowing removed from anything? How is this awakeness removed from anything? There is simply everything. It's not like there is awakeness that looks at.
Out, okay.
There is everything appearing, knowing itself, but as if it's looking through this body at itself. But it's not really like that. There is everything.
But that's the same with the hearing.
Yeah, the same with the hearing. The same with the feeling.
So there is nothing there.
No, there's nobody experiencing everything. There's nobody experiencing itself. The person that someone is looked through is an experience appearing in this. But the experiencer is totally empty and void. And yet it's all things. Its true nature actually is emptiness, and then it explodes into creativity and creates everything. It creates consciousness, it creates all things, it creates the knowing of itself. Like you can take it right down to emptiness.
So the person is empty as well.
Yeah. The person
Empty.
the person doesn't really exist. What's happening in every moment is lots of feelings, thoughts, sensations and energies appearing, and memories giving the appearance that somebody's moving in time. But in actuality, all there is this moment, which is absolute stillness expressing itself as movement.
That's the same case with everything else.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing actually exists. There's no reality out there. There is appearances in this moment, seeming as if there is a moving world and a life happening. But it's that one energy recreating in every instant, building itself up again. So that feeling of you from the last moment, and your feeling of you to the next moment, isn't an actual you. It's spontaneously appearing in each moment, giving the appearance that it's you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
This point as well.
Yeah. You go around your whole life thinking you are someone.
and to feel that something is happening. Actually, nothing is happening.
No, nothing's happening, but yet it's appearing to happen. It's a contradiction. Yet it's appearing. I've got a red seat here, which my computer's on. I'm sitting on this seat, and it feels a particular way. It's like a dream. It's happening, but it's not. Life is experiencing itself, but also it's not. Nothing's happening. So there's nothing that's born, there's nothing that's died, there's nothing that's got, there's nothing that's lost. But yet it seems to. We have all these adventures as if we've got something, as if we lost something, as if we've built a life.
So is it or imaginary or a dreamlike?
Yeah, dreamlike. I mean, imaginary, it's not coming out of a human brain. And it's a 3D, it's like being inside of a computer game. And it's set up on all these rules.
And there is no way to know it as well.
No, because knowing,
nobody knows
it. No, that knowing.
That you often say that.
Yeah,
nobody knows
it. So that knowing, that aliveness, that awakeness, it inherently doesn't have knowing something. It just knows. Full stop. Knows.
Yeah,
everything just is.
Know.
But it doesn't know anything in time. It creates a human with a brain that can think about things in time, and that human believes what it thinks about is real. But actually these are just thoughts, a game playing, but they don't actually mean anything. Awakeness, aliveness, knows everything as this instant, but it doesn't have a brain. It doesn't remember, it doesn't think, it doesn't have an objective. It looks through a brain and gives that experience of a brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, it's simply knowing without anything to know.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to know, it's simply knowing.
Yeah. And then it plays the game as if it knows. So it looks through the human as if the human knows this is a computer or something's happening. But it's not a reality. This is just the dance, this is the game, this is the dream.
That's it.
So you know nothing. We're speaking and neither of us know, we don't know anything. Our essence knows nothing, but it goes through a filter which is pretending it knows something and pretending it has an objective reality.
Wow.
And it's so mysterious, this knowing, this aliveness, this awakeness. We can never look at it, but yet everything is it. That's all there is, but we can't look to see what it is. It's a total and utter mystery, but that mystery is the creation. It's so empowering. You've never been victim to anything. You, as that awakeness, are the creator of it all, but not consciously creating innocently. It comes out spontaneously, so innocently.
Yeah, because I experience, or not experience, I have this this I wouldn't say opening, or we say opening sometimes, like that, as you said, there is nothingness, and then all on a sudden, as you used to say, the contraction.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, like this. So when it, so I used to get it. I've been getting it, this kind of thing for the last almost 1 year now.
Yeah, yeah. This is it, waking up. It's because it's too much to take freedom all at once. It's too much. It's so free. It would like destroy the body. So it seems to pulsate for a period of time. Depends on the body as to how long it pulsates for. And while you feel like a person, my recommendation, while you feel like a person, not that you are a person, but if you feel like a person, then when the suffering's really strong, something that's recommendable is just to put the awareness, the focus on the uncomfortable contractions. And this isn't about getting somewhere, this isn't about waking up, that world is all irrelevant. It's just, rather than just living up here and trying to think your way out of something, just putting it on the actual sensation of the contraction. And this way it's far more quicker.
Kind of dealing with that kind of situation, that's all.
Yeah, but it's not about getting somewhere, because there is no you that can get somewhere, and it's not about this will lead me to enlightenment. These are all crazy thoughts and crazy way of thinking, but it's just a wise thing to do, to just move the focus, if you feel like you can move the focus onto those sensations and just sit with them for a while. And not running away and acting it out like most people do and trying to get more. But but again, it's not about getting to enlightenment. This is just a recommendation.
You mean we are already there?
Yeah, we're already there. But sometimes it can really,
all the time.
Yes, but it can feel like you're not there, and it can feel very uncomfortable. And rather than sitting there and saying it's pointless, there's nothing I can do, I don't exist, this is all pointless, where am I going to, what am I going to do? Just moving the focus onto that discomfort will just allow it to come out of the body. Because all those contractions, every contraction that you feel is indicating that there's something that's not true. There's something not in line with reality. There's somebody that believes it's separate. So just making just the awareness of that is going to eventually dissolve it. But again, it's not about getting. That's what the person's always used to. So then it hears this and it's like, oh yes, feel everything. I will get there. But it's not about getting. It is here. Yeah, it is here.
There's nothing to get.
You couldn't possibly grab onto it because it's the nature of all things. But that person in time gets carried away with itself and gets carried away with seeking and trying to get. And it can be very uncomfortable, the hearing of this and the waking up process. Energetically, it can be very uncomfortable.
Wow. Yeah, there is nothing to get because who is to get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this kind of situation sometimes.
Yeah.
There is nothing to get. What?
But then the person comes back, and then you're like, suddenly there's something to get again.
Yeah, it comes back again, and then it's wow.
Yeah.
And then what's happening? It's coming. The person, the contraction, is sometimes very, very strong.
Yeah.
But it won't stay for a long time.
Yeah.
It goes out.
Yeah.
And when it goes out, then there is nothing.
Yeah, there is just it happening. But for no one, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's as you when you explained right today now. Yeah, it's just seeing.
Yeah.
And it's just listening or just feel, just touching, feeling. Nobody feeling and nobody hearing, nobody listening, nobody looking. Just this phenomenon.
Yeah. And it's totally empty and yet full.
Yeah, but there is no center point, so there there is nothing to grab.
No.
No sound to get.
No.
No sight to see.
Nothing will add more to it. It's impossible. It just goes in and falls out the other side.
No. It's empty. Nothing is staying there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I'm in this kind of process at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. A kind of seesaw.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will feel like that they're in that. I think a lot of people feel like that, like they're in a seesaw. They have it, they lose it. But it's not really they have it or lose it or it comes and goes. It just feels like that because the energy, and then And it really is about that energetic movement. There can be all these intellectual awakenings, but it's when that energy explodes and then there's just completion. And it stops being centered anywhere and there's just completion there.
I'm not very intellectual in that sense, so I don't intellectualize.
Yeah.
And the thoughts, and for me, that is not a problem. And the thoughts are not coming at all.
Yeah.
No thoughts. Not much thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know which is the effect of this, or the thoughts are not coming these days. No thinking happening. And for example, remembrance and so on. I cannot remember many things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, because there is nothing to remember.
Yeah. Well, it can be helpful if you've got to catch a flight or do some business, but it all happens.
Yeah, but the contraction comes, yes. That memory or remembrance come. But contraction is not there. It's just, as you said, empty.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I had a little bit of confusion but when after listening to you, and I listened once or twice, Tony Parson.
Oh yeah.
And that helped to what you call to stabilize my understanding in some way.
Yeah.
And then I used to continue to listen to your YouTube programs. You don't come to Pondicherry sometimes?
I have done. I have done that.
I saw.
2 or 3 times. I think.
told me that you've been here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are planning to come again now?
Well, I did think about it maybe this winter, but I don't know. We'll see. I have to get someone to look after my dog. So she's just sitting here. Yeah, so I have to get someone to look after her. So that's always my my dance is when I'm thinking about coming to India. Because if you come to India, I want to come for at least a month.
Okay.
Because it's quite a long travel.
And another thing is, what about the feelings in the body? And how do we cope with that?
Yeah, well it's different when you're waking up and there's that contraction and non-contraction. When you're contracted, the feelings are really held tight and become very important. When you're not contracted, then the feelings aren't very strong, or they can be very strong, but they can come up with great strength, but it's not contained inside a container anymore. The person, when it feels feelings, when you feel separate, it feels them and then it tries to escape from them. And by doing that, it kind of holds them into itself. And it makes it very uncomfortable. Whereas when a feeling is fully expressed, it can be really intense, but it's not bound to something. The problem with feelings is the person thinks that happiness, joy, all the positive feelings are its completion. So when it feels happiness and joy, it's complete. And when it feels pain or sadness or anger or loneliness, it's incomplete. So the person lives in this rejection of negative feelings and this attempt to always maintain positive feelings. And it makes it really uncomfortable because it's trying to hold on to something it can't, and it's trying to push away something it can't. So it becomes this tense energy around feelings. And so this is why I recommend, when you do feel separate and you do feel contracted, something that you can do rather than the storyteller that's always trying to escape all the feelings and sensations, is just move that focus. Just take some time to move the focus onto those tight, contracted feelings, because you'll notice that they'll be in the body somewhere. They'll be tight. Oops, they'll be tight behind the head, or in the neck, or in the heart area, or in the stomach, and you'll feel this tight energy. And rather than keep telling the story of what someone's done or what happened or the worries or the fear, if there's just a movement onto the energy, it will allow the emotion to the feeling to express itself more freely and pass through the body. But this isn't about someone getting somewhere, because even the movement of the focus isn't you. There isn't a solid person in time, but it can feel like that you can move your focus into areas of the body. And it's not about you getting somewhere, because who would get somewhere? All there is this moment. But like when you run a marathon, you have to move your legs to run. I'm just trying to show people and teach people how to actually properly feel their feelings, rather than to stay in the mental stories and add to the suffering about it and trying to run away and then holding it all in. Most people are so unhonest. I mean, what happens in the process of awakening is an absolute honesty begins to express itself. Because people are always about getting. They see love as getting. They see awakening as getting. So everything they're doing, everything they're saying is about getting that. Rather than just freely speaking in the moment and expressing what's happening in the moment, it's all about what you want the other to feel, what you want the other to see you as, what you want yourself to see you as. So you're always trying to maintain an image of yourself. And it becomes very tight in the body from doing this. Then as that person begins to relax and there stops being this tight contraction, then honesty will come. The body just says what it says. And if it upsets someone, then that's what it does, it upsets somebody. And if it's accused of, you've upset me and you've manipulated me and you've done that, then that's what it's accused of. You don't really know what you are. You're just honestly expressing what's felt in the moment. You've not got an ulterior motive. Although the body will have a motive, because the body moves toward pleasure and avoids pain. But it's not about someone trying to make an identity out of it and trying to repress feelings or express itself in a certain way. So then when you stop being that bounded energy, then it's like everything feels like it comes from innocence. Everything's coming from that boundless place. Even if you're in an argument and you're arguing about something with someone, it doesn't mean that you don't necessarily have an argument about something. Sometimes it's really important to argue. There's a reason to it, or if there's anger or sadness or crying, but it's all innocent. It's not about trying to be something in time, it's just being in that moment, an expression happening in that moment. And although the body follows certain rules of moving towards pleasure and avoiding pain, you don't have this secondary image of trying to act a certain way in order to be loved, or trying to act a certain way in order to be seen a certain way. You see, this is how most people live their life, is by that motto. They don't even know what love is. They think love is wanting and pleasing the other person. And love is just being yourself. And being yourself, to me, is an expression from nowhere, just coming out without a second thought. It doesn't always make you the most diplomatic person and non-offensive person, but it's true creativity. And any artist or anybody that creates know their best stuff comes when they're not involved, when it just comes out. And this is what human life should be. Every impulse, if there's an impulse to dance, the body gets up and dances. If there's an impulse to speak, the body speaks. If there's an impulse to say, no, that's not okay, that's what the body does. It's not about looking enlightened. It's not about looking peaceful. It's being fully Lisa. It's being fully you. It's being fully human. It's not about a denial of being human. Huh?
The spontaneous.
Yeah. And this is being fully human. This is when it really begins to be integrated. So the human is acting, but not acting by an idea of itself. And then it's like you go back to being yourself, rather than the idea of yourself, rather than the fake person that's trying to be something in order to please someone, that's trying to do something in order to get something. It doesn't mean it's great at business, it doesn't mean it's great social skills, but it just is itself. And then by being that spontaneous freedom, by not trying to be something in time, then the body's fully prepared to let other bodies be like that. So if the other body expresses anger, it knows that that's what it has to do, and there's no resistance towards it. It just is spontaneous. All this life happening. And it's really important, this part of the human becoming itself. It's like the human falls back in love with itself, although there's not someone there that could fall back in love with itself. It's like it stops rejecting any part of it. Because your essence, that looking, that empty looking, is total and utter love. And then everything that comes out of this human is coming from total and utter love. Yeah. Even though it might not look like that to the other person.
Yeah, but the society, it's not the way the society taught us to
No, our society taught us
totally contrary.
Yeah. We've always been told we have to be someone, and this is what that someone has to be look like, yeah. And this is really radical. Like, it's really beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Just to be yourself, uncompromisingly.
The truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, when the contraction comes, I feel stronger, and everything becomes stronger, and dislike, and anger,
oh yeah,
and irritation. I get irritated quickly, and I think one of the reasons is that I feel that because that me now is getting scared, and becoming weaker, so getting scared
and
about
it's true.
What's happening.
Yeah, and also it's got less barriers on it. So all these repressed pains in the body, all these repressed ideas, come out more quickly. So it's like, so say you're irritated. Yeah, because say in a conversation that you don't want to be in anymore, because there's more sensitivity, believe it or not, there, even when you're strongly contracted, you can feel this irritation instantly with the conversation. Whereas before, you would just suppress that, hold it in the body and stay in the head and try to think about what you're going to say back to them, or try to think about something. Whereas now those feelings are coming up more, that you don't want this conversation. But eventually what will happen is that that body will feel more okay to move away from that, to change that. Whereas in the past, you've always been told you have to be a good boy, you have to behave yourself, do not be honest, never ever ever be honest. And so that in the body, it's not a separate you, but in the body there's been these repressed ideas, and as there begins to be awakening, everything that's not true begins to show up. So not that irritation can't come about. I get irritated, like Khaleesi can sometimes be a little bit irritating. Not very often though. I mostly find her very cute, but when it's like she's run off after a rabbit somewhere and you're trying to find her and it's raining and it's mudding, there can be irritation. But when that contraction's there, it's that irritation in a way is being kept in play because the contraction's being saying, you're not allowed to be irritated. You're not allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to not want this situation. You have to want this situation. You have to be nice. And it's been pushing these things down. And the body's been holding it year after year of what you have to be like.
Yeah.
So I think as awakening happens and as that opening happens, then when the contraction comes, it's like a tight exposure of everything that's not true in that body. All those energies of not true. It's actually part of the waking process. It's like it has to become really intense just before it's let go. And there's these energetic blocks in the body. And this is why moving...
It's like a glow.
Yeah.
It's like a glow of the candle before it dies.
Yeah.
The strong glow.
Yeah.
I know that you're going to die, me.
Yeah. And the best thing that I think, well, you feel like you can move your attention, is just put attention on these contracted areas and explore them a little bit. Just put the attention, rather than trying to avoid it or do something to not feel it, just give it attention. And I think that allows it to move through quicker. But this is what happens to a lot of people, is this pulsing.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, with pleasure. It was lovely to meet you and speak to you.
It's a pleasure talking to you, and I would like to give other people some chance to ask questions.
But if you see Anamika or Didier, please give them a big hug from me and say hello.
Sure,
they're such beautiful people.
I mean, we used to have regular meetings now for the last couple. I think Anamika is in Holland, I think.
Oh, she is?
I'm not sure.
Maybe she comes back in like May and June sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to meet Didier most probably next Saturday. So.
Oh, please say hello to him from me.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. So, bye-bye.
Papa. Hey, Julia. Hey, Stin. Hi, Lisa. Sim. Sorry. I'm so sorry that I can't say your name. Sim. Finally caught live chat. How do I chat to you? Hello, Lisa. Do you have live chat this evening? Oh, I got it. I'm now watching you. You want to talk? Hey, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. What is that? That looks very rude. Oh. That's too funny, Nick. It looked really rude, I have to say. Hey, Noshin. Okay. So just guys, if you're not used to Ustream, if there's any problem, just refresh the page. Just press refresh if it goes quiet, and please tell me if there's any sound problems. You can put it in chat or social stream. Hello? Hey! Hey! I can't hear you. Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. Hello?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello,
hey!
Lisa.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, it's the first time.
Oh, no, that's okay. Don't worry.
Oh, very useful. All you say is very good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's. I was familiar with Ramana Maharshi before,
Yeah.
a few years ago, and it just come up a few months.
Oh, well, you just need to turn the volume off Ustream.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's okay now?
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, yeah, okay. And it feels now I am more ready for that, and I understand very well. I mean, I feel it.
Yeah.
And more and more I become aware of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but with all the things I did, with all the personal development and all the awakening and the books and everything, sometimes it's a little bit my mind wants to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nowadays I watch your YouTube video, and more and more I am aware of be in the moment all the time.
Yeah.
So gradually it's like vanishing a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's great.
I hope it's the process we have to go through, or I have to go through also.
Well, there's only one way, and that the only way is home. It's not like you can fall out of this. You feel like you've lost something, you feel like you're separate, but the only way is home, because all there ever has been is this wholeness, this completion.
Yeah. When I meditate, because I meditate a few hours a day, and when I close my eyes, it's all what you say is I can be there. But when I open my eyes in the daily life, it sometimes go back with the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You feel the same, or it's
no. What eventually happens is this: the energy will shift from being someone to not being someone. But in the process, the apparent process of awakening, then it feels like you go back in and out of being someone.
Yes.
But then there will be this shift that happens. I still have karmas of the body coming up, so I still have old patterns working out of the body, where sometimes I lose my temper, and there's then some sort of energetic release where these sort of issues just even themselves out. It's not even, actually, I'm not really losing my temper, that's just trying to think of something. So sometimes maybe I might be inappropriate in, I can't think, like there's old patterns that are evening themselves out, but there's no longer this energetic hold which holds this to me. But it's like the body still seems to be going through a process of more, but it no longer, this energy no longer sucks in and says, this is me, this is who I am. There is just stillness experiencing itself as movement, total completion.
Yes, yes.
So
I feel that also, but not 100% in 24 hours a day, but more and more when I put the conscious attention into my awareness. I mean, I just say to be conscious fully, and I say, no, it's not me, it's nothing here. So I just play.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you feel like you are there, so when you feel like you are there, then why not explore and challenge yourself and do all these things? And then there will be moments where that releases, and it's not your doing, but that's part of it. It's not you who does that. It's just a play of someone.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was I mean, for me it's like a very funny game.
Yeah.
Be me and be not me.
Yeah. Because world is totally different. When you're someone and when you're not, it's such a different place. Because when you're someone, you're always victim to life. Life is happening to you. And then when you're not someone, there is just stillness. And so it's like, it kind of almost seemed like you're a bit of a schizophrenic, because you're suddenly, everything is okay and complete. And then the next moment, you're contracted and small and you're victim to something. It's very bizarre and weird.
Yes, sure. And I feel now less and less attached to everything. So I mean, when the people said something or even do something, I just laugh all the time.
Yeah. What does it matter? Where are we going?
It's a relief.
Yeah.
It's total relief. I mean, what can happen? At the end is nothing here.
Yeah.
and sometimes it's funny because I see the sign, and today I was somewhere and when I go I just feel what was the purpose of this, and I see somewhere it's just put paper. It's a plan of the God. It's a plan of God. I said, oh yeah, of course, it's a plan of God. I said to myself, oh yeah, I just go back. Yeah, it's very useful, and I'm very happy to find you. Nice. It's very good. I live in Belgium.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. It's not very far from France, but I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the UK at the moment. I travel a lot, but yeah, I'm renting a place currently in the south of France. So not
I watch video. So now you come back to London.
Yeah, I'm back to London for 2 months now, because I've got a couple of retreats, and my parents are going to look after my dog when I'm away, and then they go away on holiday, and then I look after their dogs. So we're doing an exchange.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's nice. Maybe one day you come in Belgium.
Oh yeah, I used to do retreats in Belgium in Mosaic.
Yes.
But my friend who holds them's not. He doesn't feel like doing them at the moment, but he might start doing them again.
Oh,
We
okay.
we did one at Easter time. I think was the last
Oh,
one, like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. We used to do
oh,
them every 2 or 3 months, but he's having a rest now.
oh! I just lost this one because it's new for me. Everything is not just happen. All is in this time. If
Yeah.
just 1 month.
Oh, nice.
Even I have the book of Ramana Maharshi and all these things. It's a few years ago, so I came again
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
And a new seeing it and a new understanding
As
happens.
a new
Yeah.
understanding, it's
Yeah.
very now is mature.
Yeah.
It's very different. And
Nice.
I like that. I like that. Thank you so much.
Oh, with
It's
pleasure.
so
Well,
nice.
lovely was speaking with you. How do you say your name? Noshin.
Nushin.
Oh, well, lovely to
Yeah.
meet you, Noshin.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
calling.
And I gave myself a new name.
Yeah?
It's a few months ago. I was just wanted to have a new name. And I said, because everything is renewing for me.
Yeah.
And I said myself, Nushin.
Nushin. Yeah.
Nushin.
It's not too different, so you're still like,
No.
turn to it.
Yeah, Nushin or Nushin. Yeah. So
Nice.
it's very lovely
Yeah.
and helpful. All this video and talking, I think it's very helpful, especially for one is ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
beautiful.
totally know what you're talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
It's very good. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you,
Namaste.
Noshin. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later. Yeah. Bye, Lisa.
Nice. Hi. Hi, Zia. Zia. I know we've spoken before, but I can't remember your face, and your picture's too small. Hi, Lisa. There is this seeing that the Zia character is very forgiving, wavering people. That the Zia character is very forgiving, wavering people behavior, with the knowing that it's all God. It's like there is this being, a pushover being experienced. You spoke about this with your business transaction and men behaving inappropriately and squeezing you, monetarily wise, I believe. The same is happening here, and there are feelings of uncomfortableness which are just being allowed and expressed. There is not really a question, but a wanting to understand this too. Much of forgiving and the character being too easy on other unacceptable behaviour. Yeah. Well, don't come for me advice on this, because I just decided to give up with these men and I just gave them everything. I took nothing. Like it just became so icky that that I didn't even want the money to spend it on something. Like the idea of having their money and then spending it just didn't seem pleasurable anymore or enjoyable. Not that I didn't like them or anything, but it had been such difficult negotiations, I just decided to give it all up. So I don't know if I am the best to ask about this, but the boundary will come, and there's nothing wrong with those pains. Like anger came about this situation towards these people, and there was an anger that came and said, no, this isn't appropriate behaviour. But it was a very complicated situation because of friends and da-da-da. So the anger will come, but even if you are the pushover, then that's what's happening. And then there's feelings of uncomfortableness or sadness, whatever it is around it, and that's the feelings that are happening. But nothing will complete you. Them behaving a different way won't complete you. Nothing will complete you. But it doesn't mean that you become totally passive. Like the feelings will tell you. So I really stood up to these men, but eventually I was like, I don't even want your money anymore. But nothing will complete you. Either way, it doesn't matter. Your freedom is that looking. this essence, this beingness, even when the character totally fucks up or loses it or is angry or acts inappropriately. And I'm sure in that transaction with those guys I acted inappropriately and did it wrong and upset them and all those things. But nothing completes you. Here it is, this stillness, that's everything, that's knowing itself. What's looking, what sees all that discomfort, what feels, what knows that discomfort, what knows those feelings. There it is. Here, 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 here. This is it, baby. And if your mind keeps circling on the subject, then it means that there's something in you, that separate person believes that something could be different or should be different, or there's something that's not resolved. You feel not enough, or you feel rejected, or you feel like you need them to behave in a certain way, and none of it's true. Nothing will make you happy in this world. This world is in a perpetual state of movement, and there's no lineup of things that are better than another lineup of things. Ultimately, relatively, it's preferable that things go certain ways, but it's not your completion. Your completion is the happening. Your completion is the stillness which knows everything. Sorry, I have a spinning chair that I'm talking from. Hey Renate! Nice to see you. Hey Deanna. Hey Mark. Oh, with pleasure, Mark. Hey Kevin. Hey Diego. Hey Carl. Hey Kevin. Wow, I have a lot of people that are wanting to call. The squat. Have I refurbished the squat? I was staying in a very nice place, thank you. That's so much hassle for that last place. So Susan says, can you speak about feeling the feelings and emotions, please? Are they biological habits passing through? Thank you. Yes, they're biological habits, but they're also energies which have been claimed by the person to be wrong for lots of years or to be right. And so the person's got a tight hold on them. So there is like biological reactions happening, and then there is this person which says, no, you can't feel this, or this is inappropriate, or it sees something out in the flow and says, this isn't right, I don't want this, and then it has this emotional feeling to it, and then the person's holding it tight to itself. And my recommendation, when you feel like you're separate and there's lots of suffering going on, then feeling the feelings is a very wise thing to do. If you have ever done it before, you'll notice that if you move the attention to the feelings, then eventually they just move and change and morph. Whereas a lot of the time when you feel them and then try to distract yourself, you begin to live in your head and your thoughts, and you begin to cut off from the feeling, and this actually maintains the feeling. But this isn't about getting to liberation, but this is advice. This is sensible, realistic advice, rather than cutting off, living up here going, there is nobody, there is nobody, there is nobody, I am a nobody, when can I be a nobody, why do I still feel these things, I don't want to feel these things, I want to kill myself. Just put the awareness on the sensation. Underneath this brain thing there will be an uncomfortable contraction. You don't need to tell a story about the contraction, but if telling stories happen, you just move the awareness onto the feeling wherever it is in the torso, and just leave it there, and then bring it back, and then blah, 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 bring it back. And if it's so intense, then you can talk out, I want to kill that person at work, to yourself, not to your family. I don't like them, but I hate them. You can just have an honesty with it. I'm not enlightened, I'm never going to get enlightened. But don't stay up in the brain about it, let the feeling speak. Does that help? This is a very wise thing to do. I noticed that a lot of people that were coming to my talks, because I was saying there is nobody there, they were then interpreting it in their brain as there's nothing I can do. And then they kind of lived in this intellectual interpretation of non-duality, kind of stayed up in this area. And then there's nothing I can do, there is nobody, and they just denied all their feelings and used it as a new technique to cut off to the body. But this is a full integration, the body coming fully back to life and being and living from that spontaneity of the body rather than the intellect that interprets. So the feeling comes up to say to those people, I forgot who I was last speaking to who said that she didn't put her barriers up, you just say, no, this isn't appropriate. And that might come out forcefully and they'll be like, oh, you're so unenlightened. No, that's not okay. Like the body will instinctually do it. Not this, oh, I don't want to be aggressive because that's not very enlightened. I must in this situation look enlightened. If somebody's trying to steal your work, you say no. If that's, or whatever that person's doing, or steal your heart, or steal your feelings, or manipulate you, not because you think about it, because the body knows. When you stop living in this imagined idea of yourself, it's like a stream that you get into, and the dance of energies know how to act. And other people might be telling you you're doing all these things, and you should be like this, or you should be like that. And don't listen to the intellect. Listen to the feelings, not the feelings of contraction. These natural, spontaneous feelings. And I know when you're contracted, it's really tight and hard to tell because you feel so contracted and you're lost in this blurry story of what they've done to you and what's happened to me. But as that dissolves, then it's this natural flow. I can't explain. It happens, but for no one. Hey? I'm speaking fast today, aren't I? Oh my goodness, look at this. Hey, easy. Hey, easy. Hey, easy, you easy. Hey, easy, easy. You poo 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 la. La ba ti ku poo pee. You put the kapala. Easy got a new collar today, didn't you, sweetie? Yeah, you got a new collar today. Oh. I just love her little toes, look. Oh, little footy. Little footy. Little footy. Oh, kitty, 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 kitty. Oh, little toey. Little toe. Look. Sorry guys. I'm sorry, I just got totally lost there. This is what I meant about the spontaneity of the character. I had no idea of anything. There was no idea of myself or anything. There was just a life like... That's so funny. Don't know how long I was doing that for. Hey, Laurie! Oh yeah, the arm is good. She's 75% healed now. She still can't get it fully up. Yeah, it's doing well. Thanks for asking. And their dogs are good, but one of them's got cancer and is dying, and the other one's very old. I mean, we're all dying, but he's got cancer and he's maybe got a couple of months left. He seems quite well, actually. Hi, Lisa. I went to the kitchen to make scrambled eggs with ham. I'm always hungry these days, and I think I have restricted myself for so long. I'm eating a lot more these days. Lisa, I have a question. Yes, when you're ready. Did I miss the session again? No, I'm here. Hi, Lisa. You are so cool. Oh no. Very cool, very funny. Okay, so I've got lots of people wanting me to call them. Who haven't I spoken to before? Okay. Let's try Sin. Nope. She's not there anymore. Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
Hi.
Does it work? Yeah. So, where do I see myself? Nowhere? Okay. Lisa, I've been reading your book.
Ah.
And I've watched a lot of videos of you. And I must say they are really, something is resonating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after I came in contact with this message, there is such a fear.
Yeah.
Of not knowing anywhere who I am. And
yeah. Yeah, this can happen. It can be incredibly scary waking up.
I can't orient, you know.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Yeah, it can be really, really scary. The thing is your freedom's there behind the fear. It's even in the fear, but we can just say behind the fear as in it's aware of the fear. It knows the fear. But that fear is the person. That fear is the separate person that isn't you. It's not your fear, it's being experienced. The separate you that's being experienced, though, fears the fear. It thinks that it can't cope or the fear will kill it. So it's very afraid of the fear and wants to repress the fear. But awakeness, aliveness, that which knows the fear, has never been affected and is totally free. But it's as if that person that feels fear is kind of blocking the awakeness, blocking it and holding it as if, or like holding it back as if it's separate.
Right.
But the best thing that when you feel separate and when you feel afraid that you could do is just take some time and lay in a safe place on your bed or sit on the sofa and just gently allow the focus to rest on the fear. This isn't you, this isn't something you do, but like if I said to you, could you stand up now, the body more than likely would. But that's not you standing up, and it's not you that puts the focus there. But if there's a focus put onto it, then it allows it to come in the light. Normally, what we do is we feel this fear underneath, and then we go into very high thinking, so we lock ourselves up in our head. Or we go and do activity. And this isn't about getting somewhere. Forget the idea of getting enlightened and getting somewhere, because there is no one that will get enlightened or get somewhere. It's just about the collapse of that separate entity that believes it's separate from life and that there's a world out there that it's afraid of. And at the moment, that fear is being highlighted because most probably you're not acting out so many of your old patterns. You're not doing so many things to repress it. And so now it's okay for it to come up. Who you are is that boundlessness which can take anything, that never dies. It can contain it all. You are that which knows the fear. And the person is afraid of the fear. The person wants to stay in its own little world of I know something. I know what I am. I know where I've got to go. I know what I've got to do.
And when you talk about it now, it does really resonate, absolutely, and it does make sense.
Yeah.
But when I'm, let's say, with my parents or something, I feel like I'm getting insane or something, you know, it's...
Why do you feel like you're getting insane with your parents?
Just with any kind of people that that was hanging out with for a long time.
Yeah.
As I said, because I can't orient myself anymore.
Yeah.
And to, I don't know how to express it. It is easy to do, to keep the focus in the body when I'm alone, but when I'm with other people, it's really spinning in the body, you know, and it's not easy to keep the focus by myself. I'm so distracted by thought and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it does. It tries to stay in the thought land. But maybe there can be a noticing that when there is compulsive thinking, that underneath you're feeling terrified, and then there can just be a movement to that. But this sometimes takes seemingly time to undo itself. It's like it had so much energy put into it, the separate self, being someone. And it is hard being around other people that are strongly identified, because they're all about getting. That anyone that's identified is always about getting and what they can get from you and what they can get from life. It's a total different way of being. I forget what it's like until I, every so often, come in contact with people and I'm like, oh yeah, everybody else's life is about obtaining. Like nobody's about enjoying their life. They're all about the next thing to obtain, the next thing to obtain, the next thing, even if it's just jobs around the house, even if it's just to obtain the evening time or to do their checklists or to earn a bit more money or to buy a table. It's always about obtaining. And this collapse is collapse back into everything, is the collapse of needing anything and obtaining anything. Even though life happens and this body moves to look after itself and moves towards pleasure, nothing is needed. There's nothing which needs to be taken from this world and put inside. So when that begins to crumble and you're not following that path of everyone else of getting, then it can be very hard interacting with other people that look at life like that. And energetically, we're very sensitive, so you can feel the energy of that seeking.
Totally, yeah. It's like in the body, like two knives are scratching each other or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm around such people.
Yeah. And then you might find fear comes up in you because you suddenly feel kicked in to doing that approving of the other person or wanting approval of. And because you're becoming more sensitive, it hurts more. Whereas if you're more cut off into the head and you're more unaware of what's going on, then you're not sensitive to what we're doing to ourselves. Most people are constantly uncomfortable because they're not doing their natural expression. They're doing this fake expression that they've been taught. So they're always feeling uncomfortable, and they're never allowed to be themselves. And being themselves might not be this big outrageous person that you expect it to be, but it's in Ramesh Balsekar, a speaker that I used to say, in every given moment, do exactly what you feel like doing, knowing there is nobody that does it. And what he meant, it's not that you choose to do anything you feel like doing, because there isn't a person there that could choose, but that person that's always trying to maintain this image of itself collapses, and then in each moment it's a feeling. The body's acting rather than the intellect of I've got to be like this. Sometimes we need the intellect to help us with our functioning, but not very often. Most of the time the body knows the impulses, like driving the car. It knows when to say no, it knows when something's inappropriate, it knows when someone's lying, it knows when to move away from someone. But other people that are separate entities, they're so cut off from their bodily feelings, they're always going against what they feel. They're always not trusting the feeling and trusting the intellect.
This is such another way of seeing things and
Totally.
experiencing.
It's totally,
so different,
but it's so alive and radical. Like it's really living up in your brain and up in your interpretation of yourself, and this contracted I is such a different way to just living. And then this this freedom is so sweet because it's not about the obtaining of life, it's about life happening. Even though the body moves towards pleasure and avoids pain, that's the way it's programmed, it's not about the obtaining of anything. It's not about getting to the pleasures. It's about what's actually happening.
Wow.
And it becomes very radically alive. and intimate.
Yeah. Might it be when the body or when whatever begins to awaken that when I do, if you said that I feel things more, that also the childhood trauma comes up and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that doesn't, even after this explosion that happened in Bali, there's still sometimes these old patterns that act itself out here. That might be a never-ending lifetime cycle. A lot of them disappeared and crumbled when this contraction exploded into life or back into itself. But so a lot of them passed, but there's still stuff stored in the body, not just from this body's life, but many generations of humans which have been bred into this body. Like many patterns. So those I think are like an endless thing, and in a way you're always picking up new patterns. But what happens when you're separate is you're always repressing them, and you're always in denial of them, and you're always acting out of them, but in denial of it, kind of like and so say if you see something which triggers an old fear from the past, what the body does when you're separate is it just denies it and cuts off and goes into the head. And then it does maybe horrible things, or it acts out of that. When there's nobody there anymore, then they just kind of come up and spill over and
I see
work
that
their way
in you. When you're talking, you're so naturally talking. When other people are talking, it feels like they are thinking before they're talking, like I do or somebody, and you are just talking. Definitely.
Yeah, they often have an agenda. An agenda. They often want my approval, or they want to be loved, or they don't want to make a fool of themselves, or so there's lots of different agendas that come up, or they want to seem enlightened, whatever it is, and then it comes in and out. So I'll be speaking with someone and it might come up, they suddenly are trying to be something again, and then it dissolves, and then there's just speaking but for nobody happening. Nobody speaking to no one, it just happens, and then they come back up, and then another position's taken again. So you can notice that. So sometimes people get irritated with other people that call in, because they can feel that energetic shift. Because we're so telepathic as humans, we really, really can feel. The body knows so much. When you stop living in the intellect, the body knows so much about the other.
Yeah. Totally.
It really does. This is why most probably you feel uncomfortable when you go around family and friends, because you can feel all their patterns as well as your patterns and all their dynamics. It's like, Whoa!
Yeah, totally. And do you feel this too when you go to your parents or something?
Yes,
or to
totally,
other people? Does this body also feel this kind of irritation?
Irritation, it can feel irritated, but it's not so strong. But I do have this thing where I can just shut off, because I speak with so many people and I travel so much and I meet lots of people that are seeking. I can have this thing where I can shut it off in a way, like I can because I can be really I don't really like to talk about this too much public, but I can be really psychic, but it's so invasive sometimes, like I don't want to know. I just have this thing where it's like a switch off, but sometimes it comes on, and then I suddenly find myself crying when I'm sitting with someone, and you can tell the difference between when it's not your tears. I just can't explain what that feels like, but you're just crying for someone. Like you can feel their sadness. It's not them. There isn't really a them, and there's not a you that feels their sadness, but there is sadness from that bundle of energy.
Just as the body is really, really empathic in a way.
But really sensitive. There's so many things. But often I have this mechanism where I tune out, because I don't, there's a tuning out happening. I can't explain exactly how it happens, but I can feel it, where it's like, because I can also begin to tap into their thoughts, and I don't want to.
It's good to hear that this is possible to block out. This,
it's like you'll begin to notice it. It's just like a force that comes, but it's not my force, and it kind of does it, and then sometimes it doesn't do it, and I'm like, I'm tired.
And I have one more question. Do you think when there are really deeply rooted traumata in the body, or an energetic contraction, Do you think that Vipassana or yoga or something like that can help? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think these are all. I think everything's really. All these sort of practices are really beautiful, but it's all. The important part is about not focusing on the destination and just kind of doing it, but doing it in that moment and not focusing about getting enlightened or getting rid of these, but just an exploration as to what this body contains and holds. But I wouldn't stick to one thing because everything comes with its downside. So even though it's really beautiful to sit there meditating for 10 hours, there also can be a learned habit of cutting off. So I would also do emotional release techniques.
And okay, so like therapy.
Yeah, that I like more feelings of if I was going to recommend things, it'd be more sort of primal therapy or therapies that are more feeling based than too much thinking based. There can be a vague working out of the patterns, but more feeling of what the body feels. But these are great things.
Primal therapy.
This primal therapy that I've heard of. And what I used to do, and still do, there is a doing of this sometimes if there's an old pattern that comes up that's painful in Lisa's body, is just resting the attention on that. So just moving the attention onto that, and you'll be amazed at how quickly it changes and how orgasmic it is. And there's nobody resisting it. Like all feelings, even these past traumas are really orgasmic. There's nothing that life doesn't want or rejects, and this is part of being human. We've got a lot of trauma and beauty in this information, but a lot of trauma. Like the things that humans have done in order to get here, what we do to each other constantly. You know, like when you're separate and you're a trader, it's all about getting more than the other. And we do terrible things to each other in order to get more than the other. So, and this has gone on for many, many generations, and what we've done to our environment and what we've done to animals, and this is stored in the body. And this isn't something about getting rid of. The body's never going to be totally unconditioned. It has to, in a way, have certain flavour to it. But it is a really wise thing to do, to understand them and relax them and come to terms with these sorts of things, especially if you've had a difficult experience in this life. But never look at it as getting enlightened or getting to enlightenment. Your nature is enlightenment, and at some point there is going to be a shift from being this tight, contracted energy which is claiming all these traumas, which is claiming all these habits, which is claiming all these ways of being, to this absolute stillness. And then this person with its habits and conditions will appear in that, but will no longer be the experiencer. But that will happen by itself. But it's really wise and a great thing to do, to work on the person rather than to just fall into a pit of despair and say it's hopeless, I'm beingness, and beingness can't do anything, and I'm never going to get there. That's like to just keep working on these neurosis and these patterns and improving relationships is really beautiful. And to explore what it is to be human and not live by this crazy, stupid, ridiculous idea of obtaining money and obtaining possessions. This is such a stupid idea. It takes people their whole life to realize it was never about that. Like to explore.
Is it the same with love?
Huh?
Is it the same with love or anything? When you say money or possessions, do you think it's the same with love?
Yes, I do think it's the same with love. But I think that in romantic relationships, there can be a beautiful exploration of what it is to be human, to have the human experience. Whereas as money, it seems a lot more... With money, it's different. With money, it's all about getting for you. Whereas in the relationship, there's an amazing reflection that can happen. And also what can happen in relationship is that you fall so much in love with the other person that you totally dissolve in that. So in the relationship, there can be many more tastes, but there can be so much hate and violence in relationships because the person believes that the other person is it, which is totally untrue. But I think it's, I mean, what more beautiful thing could there be to do in this world than to explore what it is to be human, rather than just to be told, You got to earn money. You got to work for the future. You got to have kids. You got to live like this. I mean, it seems like a prison camp when I go to these weddings and these family parties. I'm like, it's like everybody is like living and working and being this certain response. But to explore all these different responses is really beautiful. But none of that is you. Who you are is the stillness which is watching it all, but it's watching through the human instrument at the moment. So this human instrument is totally cool and fascinating and amazing, because whatever the human interprets is what the world is. There is no fixed world. There is no fixed reality. So whatever it's interpreting is what the world is. So it's like by exploring the human, you're exploring the world as well. Because you look through this brain. So the way that you interpret that TV is like the brain is the human in a way. Like you can't separate it out. The way that you look at others and see others and the thought patterns that come up. It's amazing. This human instrument. But that's not you. That's the instrument that you, as that essence, as that awakeness, looks through. But it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And I somehow can I say that I somehow want to know that essence that I am.
Yeah, you can't know it, but everything that's known is it. Everything that is it. So you can't, and it's the most intimate sense of being. It's that which knows everything. But not as a thought, not as an idea, as that vastness. It's what knows the feelings, it's what knows the sensation, it's what looks out of the eyes, it's what feels the legs against the seat. It's what hears the breathing. It's what feels Khaleesi next to me. It's what knows the thinking. It's fantastic. It's what knows the room and the space and the distance. The most intimate sense of being alive. Yeah, can't really say too much more about it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to come to Berlin. You have a talk in Berlin.
Oh yeah. You're from Berlin?
No, I'm from Vienna.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
I wrote you an email some time ago and I asked you if you come to Vienna, but you said no. And now I'm maybe coming to Berlin.
Well, the last 2 years I've been coming to Vienna. You missed it, but not this year.
To Dana?
No, not to Dana. Not to Dana, although no Dana, but this guy called Paul organised the talks at his work. Paul Lukin.
Oh,
he knows Dana as well.
Okay. Cool, yeah. Maybe we see it in Berlin.
Yeah, nice.
There's
a youth hostel very close to the talks in Berlin that you can find on the website. And if it's not on the website...
pajamas or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if not, Stefan, the organiser, lives very close, so he can also recommend anywhere.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you.
Lovely to speak with you, Kevin.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye. Hey, Jessie. Hey, Susan. Yes, putting attention on the feelings seems to help. It shifts. I feel a strong pull to stay in the head when I'm triggered, and there is an equal pull to focus on the feelings instead. How is the process different from liberation? Is it very different? Well, the process of liberation is a happening. It's not something you can see. It's not like I can say to you, okay, feel the feelings and you'll get liberated. Because who gets liberated? They're a dissolve and a collapse of something which isn't true. But that's not really a process in time, although it appears that way. But feeling the feelings, you can't say that's going to lead you to liberation. It's an exploration and exposing of things, and it's a change of living in the head to the body. But I can't say to you, feeling the body is more important than something else, because it's not like that. It's not about destination, but Trust me, it's way better to feel the feelings than to stay up here. Is it going to lead you to liberation? And what is the path to liberation? This is an irrelevant thought which is conjured up by people seeking money. This thought is all about business and money. Where will I get to? How will I get there? That's not what's important. What's important now, and if there's a tight, contracted energy and you feel separate, rest the attention on the feelings. Also listen to non-duality. And then tomorrow is a mystery. Just like this moment, actually. But destination is for getting a train or getting an aeroplane or putting it into navigation. This does not express what it is to be human. Destination is a killer for humans. It's important to work out your bank balance or to pay your bills, but that's it. It for destination. You cannot look at yourself in destination. When will I arrive? When will I get there? How will I get there? This is not a relevant thought. This is a let's kill myself thought. Let's make myself really unhappy and focus on destination. Honestly. Wow, did I take speed tonight? I'm sorry, guys. If you're not an English speaker, I'm like... So this is my parents' lounge. Oh, my legs are caught together. Oh. Let me just show you what's on the wall. Okay, what's down here is the most precious goddess there is in the whole entire universe. Not me. I know all of you are thinking I meant me, but I actually mean this thing. This is the most precious goddess that... I said, puppy. And then on the other wall, this is my parents' lounge. This is where all their friends come. Let me just show you. Look at that! Can you see how big that is? That's how big it is. It's huge. Yes. I think that's the only picture of me in here. Yes. Do you know what's even worse? Do you know who gave her that picture? Me! When I did it, I didn't think about how vain it was and how ridiculous it was. I just kind of, because we got these pictures on the website and it was Christmas time and I was like, that would be such a nice picture for her to have me and Khaleesi. And then when I ordered the size, I didn't really think of it. And then when my mum and dad opened it on Christmas Day, I could see their faces were like... And then my brother's like, yeah, I think next year I'll give you a picture of me and my cat that size. That's so funny. Bless them for keeping it up. I'm sure they just put it up when I come. Oh, my leg got stuck. Naughty Lisa sitting like that. Yes, I did watch the movie Lucy. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I loved it. My turn. I want to talk about human response to the universe. Huh? Hey, Sam! There is another person that that asked to speak. He did ask before you, so I just will speak to him first. Are you nice and comfy now? Yeah? Did you get yourself comfy? Oh yeah? Little Bobby.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
This is what happens when Lisa sees her mother. I have it on my toes too. These are just my hands. First day of being back, and she took me to get my hands done. My toes. Isn't she so cute? Oh. Okay.
First day of being back.
Hey Diego! It's a little bit behind. You're still on my nails.
Hello.
Hey Diego, nice to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has. It's great. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Up and down. Fine.
Are you still in Chicago? I can't even remember when I last spoke to you, but I just remember speaking to you and you were in Chicago.
No, in Detroit.
Oh, Detroit.
Yeah. Back with my parents living home. So, yeah. Well, you were bringing up, tidying the cage. I had about that.
Sorry?
What you meant by tidying the cage?
So what I mean by tidying the cage is that when you feel like you're someone, what often happens, so when you feel like you're separate, what happens if people listen to this message, sometimes if they haven't tidied the cage, what they do is they then take this message into the cage and they try to apply non-duality to help their life as a separate person. And I don't think that's a very wise idea, to take on board the ideas of non-duality, to be talking to your girlfriend and to be annoyed with her and then repeating to yourself, but there is nobody, there is no one, there's no one to be angry with. This is going to be a disaster. It's much better to understand dynamics, to understand relationships, to be able to feel your feelings rather than to be cut into your head. And all of these things I call tidying the cage. This is a much better way to live. What I often find in non-duality, but not all the time, there's also people that really hear this, but they just cut off and they live in their head, and non-duality just gets taken into being another intellectual concept.
Right.
And it becomes dead. They feel flat or dead or depressed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I was more depressed, I think I was using it as an intellectual concept as well to kind of reinforce that depression, to feel like, oh, what is the point? Use it, like you were saying, intellectually to say, oh, there is nothing, so why do anything?
And this is not a good, because beingness is looking through this human instrument, and then if this human instrument, it already has a tendency towards depression and then takes non-duality on, as it will just become really lethargic, it will not want to do anything, it will have no goals, it will become depressed. And so the best thing that you can do while listening to non-duality is also tidy up the cage and understand your heritage, so understand what you've been passed on by your parents biologically, and then the way that they've conditioned you as well, and understand, you know, if you take on the victim story, which most people do, and if you feel victimized by life, and see how by feeling victim to life, it stops you ever really doing anything with life. All these different dynamics. And in relationship, you always want to convince the other that they're bad and that you're good and that you're the victim and all these different things. And understanding this, and it's not about getting enlightened, it's just that when you become separate and when you're born into this world of separation and this world of always about obtaining, you begin to pick up very neurotic behaviours, because your life is based on a lie. Your life is based on, I'm separate and I need to get things in order to not be separate, and I will do anything. I will kill my neighbour to get these things in order to not feel separate, to not feel separation, and to feel complete. And just exploring that can really relax that sense of being separate and seeking. It won't awaken you. That is grace in a way. but it can make you more relaxed, balanced and happy person, and less neurotic, and less acting out these weird behaviours that you get when you've been taught that you're separate and it's your job to do things. But while exploring the cage, also exploring non-duality and seeing that that's not you. The one that's exploring the cage and tidying the cage isn't you. It's a play happening, but it appears in that play as if the character has free will and has the choice to explore the cage and to sit on the computer and to get up from the computer. Ultimately it hasn't, but that's the way the game's played. And that person will never free itself, because your nature, that which experiences and knows the character, is free already. And at some point that energy will shift over from being the person to being that boundlessness. And if you've already tidied the cage a lot, when that switches over, then it will be even, there will be no separation, but also the habits and the behaviours of that person will be more balanced as well. But that's not you. You aren't that person tidying the cage. Who you truly are is that stillness which knows all but knows nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I feel like like control is like a problem for me, like what to do, or like controlling life, or controlling what happens to me, or where I steer the direction of my life. I feel like I was, for a long time, you're kind of mentioning that, brought up to achieve and institutionalized in achievement and getting good grades and becoming someone, you know, and dreaming of someone for so long, like my whole life dreaming of this version of myself that I would one day get to. And even learning about enlightenment and spiritual progress, then that becoming an ideal. And like that going on top of worldly achievement, you know, that being like an even higher achievement, obviously, like most people can achieve, you know, financial success or worldly success, but they can't achieve that, so that's an even higher good. And for a long time thinking that that was something kind of like some super state, some state of superiority,
that you have over other people,
right,
and that makes you different. But it just isn't like that. Life, all of that is suffering. The thing that's the best thing that I can recommend is just going back to the sensations in the body. But this is going to be a very difficult period, because you're currently living in a society which is totally based on separation and getting. So what it means is, if there is an exploration of this subject, then you're more than likely not going to get what like everybody else does. So there's got to be an acceptance of not being socially acceptable. Like not being what everyone else dreamed you to be and wants you to be, because that's how they measure success. So there is kind of a stepping out of this, but none of it, the idea of who you should be by them or yourself, will bring you anything. It will just bring you more suffering. Your freedom is this instant, and what needs to happen and is an exploration of the actual sensations that are happening in the body, and the discomfort and the contractions that are happening in the body, rather than the stories that are being told intellectually. But while doing this, it's hard to be making lots of money, unless you're very lucky and you're a stockbroker and you just press buttons on the internet twice a day or something, or because it's so strong, that mechanism of being separate, and then the separation, the feelings that come, and then the stories on top of this isn't enough, I don't like this, or I'm not enough, or I'm better than, or how dare they do this to me, or why is life doing this to me. These stories are such a strong push. There's so much weight and energy in them. And so there's got to be a movement into what's actually happening rather than what we think is happening. And an exploration of what's happening in the senses rather than just the thinking.
Like that world in the brain that we the world with all the labels that kind of
screw with everything.
Yeah, and kind of it only exists like with two people. Like when you talk to someone else, like when you're by yourself, there's no one to like for that to like attach itself to.
It's a really great reflection, imagining the whole world dying and you being the only human left. Like, who would you be?
Yeah, you couldn't have a title or a name. There'd be no one for that to stick to.
Yeah, and what would become important?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting little glimpses of like nothing existing because like the things that I think exist only exist between two people and between the society.
Yeah. Like, it's such an illusion the way it's built up. Another great thing to be able to see this is if you travel a lot or if you go into different cultures. Like in seeing how in each culture there is particular ways of being and particular ways of seeing each other.
Yeah.
And then none of them are reality, they're just different ways. And each one thinks that it's the best one, each one thinks that's the right one. Even in non-duality.
Yeah, where some things are correct in some cultures and then completely wrong in other cultures, and like offensive or not offensive, and you know, what is the polite thing to do versus impolite, and that's the reality in each place. And because I was born in South America and then I came to the States. I lived most of my life in America. I don't know. I've always felt kind of a little separation from it.
Yeah. Whereabouts in South America?
Peru.
Oh, nice. I've never been there, but it sounds, from what I've seen and read about it, seems beautiful.
Yeah, I went one time. I went back one time when I was younger. I haven't been back since. I think it's very diverse. I think there's a lot of different. I think there's like lots of places that kind of suck, and lots of places that are like, you know, picturesque. And there's like the coast, and maybe like the Amazon. There's like rich places, but I remember there's also places that just look like the worst parts of Detroit, and just awful and poor, and it's not very nice at all. But I think it's probably kind of like a lot of other places, like where. It's just always that, I don't know, stratification of different lives, you know?
Yeah.
And there's, but,
do you still keep in contact with, Carl? Kyle.
Yeah, here and there. It's been a while recently, but, yeah.
I see him every so often on, YouTube with millions of views, not YouTube, Facebook with millions of views. Like somebody, I don't know if I'm friends with him. I've got lots of friends, but I see like a video of his. That somebody's posted.
He's very popular. He's gaining a big following.
Yeah.
He had one for a long time in comedy, and now with this motivational / inspirational thing that he's doing, it's very, people love it.
Yeah.
People are really big fans of it, and
he speaks well. He's a good speaker.
It's been he's got a gift for that, you know. It's definitely his thing, and I met up with him for comedy, like, because growing up he was on Comedy Central. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like Comedy Channel, and like I was like, that's the biggest thing you could be, and I never realized that's what I wanted to do for a long time, and then getting to work with him was incredible, and he was like in his transition between being a comedian and what he does now, speaking, and I don't know, it got to the point where I wasn't able to work with him anymore, and I wanted to just, I don't know, I kind of let things fall away because I was in a very work mode, and it was creating a lot of stress for me, so it like I don't know, it took a couple of years of just not doing anything, and then I started doing comedy more, and I always have this back and forth, like, doing comedy, I feel like is going to lead me down a path of more thinking things are real, or like
not necessarily. It depends on where the passion comes from. Like, you know, doing comedy could be a really creative, but it depends on whether you're doing it from the intellect or from the gut.
Right.
But it might be a combination of two. It might be a bit intellectual, as in you want to be something from it. But there might also be that, you know, that gut feeling that just loves the creative process, that really wants to express it.
Yeah, and the place where jokes come from, just like seeing a thing that's funny or redundant. And that's almost what I love about comedy, is that it's not like I mean, it's like it's about redundancies and like, you know, how like
the contradictions.
Yeah, contradictions, and the way that we build up this universe that you're like, there's a big gap in it.
Yeah.
Like, look how silly this is, and it almost feels so much like some of this stuff, because it's like trying to poke holes in everything. And
I think so too. I think there can be such a beautiful expression, and not even necessarily talking about non-duality like we do, but just in the expression of the art and the contradictions of life and the silliness and the craziness of everything that we as humans think and believe. And also when you're expressing it to people, there can be an intimacy that happens. Like I also write, and it's not about destination, it's not about ending the script. What I love is that creative energy. Oh, hang on. What I love is, I thought she was just going to puke everywhere, but like, what I love is that creative energy, that inspiration. It's not an intellectual thing, it comes from the body, and it's not about completing it. It just wants to come out, and it wants to get expressed, and it's not coming from you. It's not about you becoming successful from it. It's just expressing, and you go through so many different emotions while expressing it, and well, it comes out, but it's not an intellectual thing. It's not about me getting somewhere. I remember when I was younger and when I was identified and when I wrote, I wrote from a very young age. When I used to write, I had two agendas. My agenda was expressing a message. So I wanted to convey something to the audience, a morality. Normally you have to do that in storytelling, but I, as Lisa, wanted to express it. I wanted to have a point. I wanted to have an understanding of something. So it was about me wanting to express to someone. So that was my one thing. And then the other thing was I wanted recognition for the plays. I wanted to be successful from them. I wanted money from them. I wanted to look a certain way from them. I wanted to be appreciated in a certain way. And now when I write, these things don't even come into it. I don't care. Normally when you write, there is a flip, so there isn't a morality, but there is a flip from one thing to another, like comedy. So you start off somewhere and then it flips into something else. That's how you write drama. But it's nothing to do with me. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it says or how it says it. There's an expression or a story that wants to be told and to come out. And I also don't care if I am ever recognized for it as well. Like, it just doesn't even come up in the creative process. Maybe in trying to get it produced, there's a caring, like, not me, but there's a push to try and get it produced or to try and get it made. But in the actual creative process, it's just a spontaneity. So there could be the same with the comedy. And it's such a, like, these bodies, these instruments are creative because the reason that we're so successful as humans is because we have this creative mind that can imagine a car, that can imagine a bicycle, that can imagine a computer, that can imagine a story, that can imagine a joke, and all of these things are so important. It's important that we laugh, it's important that we understand the contradictions of life, that we first of all have the chemical of laughing, but also we don't take everything so seriously. We see the lightness of it, or the stupidity of it, or the darkness of it, depending on the comedy, but the contradiction of it. But that's what we are with these creating machines. Whereas Khaleesi, she isn't. I say to her, look at this beautiful script, or look at the sunshine, or look at this scenery, and she's like, she's got no appreciation of it. Whereas as humans, we have this creative force running through us, which is really beautiful. Well, Khaleesi does too, but she digs a hole and she sits in the hole. She plays and she eats things, but it's not like the human. We have this imagination to create.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate it, you know, too. So I'm not like, I love watching comedy. I really have appreciation for other people's making that thing, and I don't know. I think back to when I was even a kid, and I had no idea that being a comedian was anything you could do or anything like that, and just watching specials and just loved the art of it and being able to appreciate that. And, and it's not something anything else can do besides people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I would be very impressed if someone made Khaleesi laugh.
Yeah.
My moron friend.
I've been spending a lot of time with my cat. I like the cat.
Have you ever seen something on YouTube called Simon's Cat?
No.
Oh, you should look it up. I find this really funny. But there's one called Kathmandu.
Okay.
And it's just a very simple cartoon, but I find them really funny. But this might be my rubbish humour. It's called Kathmandu, and it's called Simon's Cat.
Alright, yeah, I'll write that down.
If you like cats, I think you'll find it funny.
Yeah. Oh. So they're just... Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well, thanks for calling.
Oh, with pleasure. Nice to speak with you again.
You too, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I'm online, Andreas. Susan. No, I haven't tried those. There's some people that I haven't spoken to that want to speak, but I think that's enough now. I've been on since 7 o'clock. It's now 9:30, or nearly 9:30, so I think that's about enough. So sorry for those few people that I didn't speak with. I try to always vary who I speak to take different calls, and if I can't vary it, then I try to do it in order. So I'm away now on retreat. It's on my website, but I'm away now for so today is the 1st, so I won't be here for the 5th, the 8th, the 12th. Okay? Those ones I will not be here for. And I'm going to change the format of my sporks. And I will be recording them on Wednesdays and not recording them on Sundays. So there'll only be one recording a week. And on Sunday it means that I can have all the crackpots telling me all the crackpot things, and it will never be recorded. Or you can tell me your dark emotions or whatever. Or not, you can just ask about non-duality. But we can talk without being recorded. So we'll just see how that goes for a little while, and if it doesn't work then I start recording them again. Okay, my lovelies. Thank you. Good night.